I'm Alec Pecino, and my co-host is Bradley Walker. This is the Baseball Banter podcast. We have a extremely loaded show today, so we are going to go ahead and hop right into it. We are going to start with our spring training standouts, and both of us have a list of a certain number of players that we thought had a really good spring training. And Bradley, we're going to alternate. Bradley, I will let you give your first one.
I'm going to go with Tigers right-handed pitcher Jackson Jobe. With the Tigers. Notes on him is that he made a strong first impression. His fastball was in the upper 90s. He has a sharp cutter, which we all know in the majors. And by the way, guys, he's only 22 years old. So that's why he's on my list. So he's one of my guys.
I went with a guy that you could kind of say, I guess, that I'm infatuated with because I've talked about him a lot on the show recently, and that is Zach Veen, who is now all of a sudden putting himself in position to be in a starting role for the Rockies. In 41 at-bats in the spring, he's hit just a smooth 317 with 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, and a OPS of 1.014. If he doesn't make the opening day roster, there's no reason he shouldn't be sent. There's no reason he shouldn't make the opening day roster at all.
Correct.
And like I said, if he doesn't, there's a problem there because he was competing with another young guy on the Rockies, Jordan Beck, and Jordan Beck was just doing, I'm not going to say terrible, but Jordan Beck was fumbling away his opportunity to be on the opening day roster. Who is your next player that stood out during the spring?
I have catcher Drake Baldwin of the Atlanta Braves. Another young kid, 23 years old. He went 3 for 4 against the Marlins the other day. He's steadily improving, and he's further developing in AAA. I'm not sure if he will make the opening day roster, but it's going to be the future.
I'm going to say,
we know. But
I was going to say, I think he's going to make the opening day roster because Sean Murphy's going to be out. I think 1 or 2. Sean Murphy's going to be out to start the season. He hurt. I don't know what the injury is. I know Sean Murphy's going to be out for a couple weeks. And they've already said that it's going to be Drake Baldwin and Chadwick Trump are going to be the catchers on the opening day roster.
Okay.
My next guy is Astros. I really don't know. Go ahead.
I said he's been a standout for Atlanta.
Yeah. My next guy is Astros. I don't know where they're going to play him. They're talking about if he makes the opening day roster, maybe third base, maybe outfield. Cam Smith, who was part of the Ryan Presley trade. No, he was part of the Kyle Tucker trade from Chicago to Houston. And in 22 at-bats in the spring, he's hit 423 with 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, and a 1362 OPS. And take into account the kid's only, I think, 20. He's only 21 years old. So he's fresh out of college. And, I mean, do you see it? I know you're not an Astros fan, but as an MLB fan, do you see any avenue to playing time for Cam Smith if he was to start the season at the big league level for the Astros? Because Paredes is at
Well, I
third
do. I
base.
mean, they'll fit him in because, again, just like with all young players, they kind of like ease them in. So I would imagine if he comes out of spring training, which we're sitting here talking about spring training, there's been 2 major league games played already. The Cubs and Dodgers have already started in Japan. The Dodgers have already won 2 games already in Japan.
Yes,
But
and before
if
we
he
get
comes
to
out of
our
spring
next,
training,
our next guys, we did get something right. We said that Matt Shaw would make the opening day roster for the Cubs. Didn't
he did.
we? We did. Yes. So far we're 1 for 1. Who is your next spring training standout?
Outfielder Robert Hassel III for the Washington Nationals. He's hitting a nice 450, 9 for 20, the homer, 3 doubles, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base. So,
yeah,
he's been a
he'll be
standout.
up soon
And the
enough
Nationals, again, they're a team. Well, yeah, I mean, we've talked about teams that you don't see a lot of. This is good for a good foundation to get these teams back into not relevance, but back into a chance to contend for a playoff spot in a World Series. So contention.
My next guy is on the Chicago White Sox. And he used to be a Dodgers prospect. Didn't really get any run with the Dodgers because, of course, the Dodgers are the Dodgers. They just sign anybody and everybody and defer all the money, which we've got into before. We don't think it's right, but that's neither here nor there. It is Miguel Vargas of the White Sox. In 31 at-bats this spring, he's hitting a cool 355 with 1 home run.
Ooh, nice.
With 1 home run, 5 RBIs, and a 933 OPS. And again, yes, I know it's the White Sox, but maybe there's something there with him, and all it took is him getting out of Los Angeles. Who's your next guy?
The last guy that I had on my list, I just had my list in front of me, is Pirates outfielder first baseman Matt Gorowski. He was one of the top 30 prospects last year. He's had 3 home runs so far during the spring, so I'm going to go with him. The Pirates can use help anywhere they can get it, so that's why I went with him.
Yeah. Well, and you might see Bubba Chandler earlier than we both expected, because before I get to my last 4 guys that I had for spring, just a little bit of news. Jared Jones left his last start with discomfort in his elbow, and both of us know from experience, when the word discomfort comes in for a pitcher and his elbow, what does that usually mean?
Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, and that would not be good for the Pirates, because then it's either going to be Thomas Harrington or a guy we've talked about a lot on the show, Bubba Chandler. One or both of them could then crack the opening day roster. But let me round out my list. My first out of my 4 final guys that I'm going to talk about for spring standouts is a guy that used to be, he was a top 5 prospect in the Tiger system at one point, had a really good 2022, really good 2023, and he was supposed to be their first baseman of the future, Spencer Torkelson. And he kind of fell off of a cliff last year. But this year in spring, he's hit in 37 at bats. He's hit almost 300, 297, 4 home runs, 7 RBIs with a 955 OPS. Do you think there's still potential that Spencer Torkelson could live up to being a top 5 prospect and a top 5 pick with the Tigers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I read an article today that Alex Bregman, who's with the Red Sox, the team that I cheer for, said that he almost signed with the Tigers had it not been for the Red Sox sleeping in the last minute. But I think the Tigers are, again, they have the manager for the Astros.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now.
AJ Hinch.
AJ Hinch, thank you. And AJ, I think, is kind of rebuilding what was torn down after the whole cheating scandal with the Astros. And the Tigers are young. The Tigers were, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they make a run last year down the stretch for almost for a playoff spot?
Yes. They missed the playoffs, I believe, by like 1 game.
So they're in line. The thing
with Torkelson is he's now blocked at first base because they moved Colt Keith to first base because they signed Gleyber Torres. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The former Yankee.
But they think Torkelson might be able to play a little bit of outfield and mix a couple games in a DH. And then every once in a while probably play some first base. My next guy is Braves infielder / outfielder Eli White. And yes, that's a name for the Wayback Machine. He used to be a Texas Rangers prospect back in the day. He's now in his early 30s, so.
But I don't mean to interrupt you. I just got some breaking news that the Rays have said they're going to put forward $600 million to renovate Tropicana Field and stay till 2038. Just thought I'd leave that out there. We're going to talk about the Rays later, but I wanted to drop that news on you and see what you thought about that. I just came across my phone, so I just thought I'd drop that on you. Didn't mean to interrupt you during your thing. I just wanted to drop that on you.
Okay, so that we might have just spoiled the next segment, but you'll see in a minute. Anyways, back to Eli White. And 29 at-bats in the spring. He's hitting a whopping 379.
Raking. He's raking.
With 1 home run and 2 RBIs. And a nice and easy 972 OPS. Which means he's on base a lot.
Correct.
And the Braves are going to need all the help in the outfield they can get because, as most of you know, Ronald Acuna is probably going to miss the upwards of the probably first 1 or 2 months of the year due to tearing his ACL last year. My next guy is Twins pitcher Simeon Woods Richardson. In 4 games in the spring, 11 innings, he's got an ERA. He's 1-1 with 9 strikeouts. ERA of 0.82. That's nothing to sneeze at.
That's under 1. Anytime you're under a 1 as for your ERA, you're doing a great job.
And his whip is right at 1.
1? Yeah. Okay.
So. And it was just announced that he will be part of the opening day rotation for the Twins.
Okay.
And then my last guy, and this is a guy both of us have talked about, I feel like a lot. He's in the D-back system, and they have not sent him down yet. It is Jordan Lawler. In 34 ABs in the spring, he's hitting 294 with 1 home run, 4 RBIs, a stolen base, and an 897 OPS. I'm going to give my 2 cents here in a second, but does he deserve to be on the opening day roster? Hitting almost 300?
Yeah. There are guys in the Major League 300.
Where do you, and I think the same thing. I do think he deserves to be on the opening day roster. But the problem is, where do you play him? Can't play him at shortstop because they just gave Gerardo Perdomo an extension. You have Suarez at third. You have Marte at second. I mean, I guess, and I know Diamondbacks fans don't want to hear this. I guess you could do, if he makes the opening day roster, I guess you could do a platoon with him and Perdomo at short. Or there's been rumblings and rumors out there that they might try him at third base. And if Suarez gets Eugenio Suarez, if he gets off to a slow start, that Lawler could take over at third base. But what were you going to say?
I was going to say, but they could use him as a utility infielder where give the starters a rest. He gets that start that day. I know early on in the season you don't usually see that too often. Usually your starters are out there every day, but as the season rolls on, it's such a long season, you sit your guys for rest occasionally. So I could see him being used as a utility guy to fill in on a day that, the third base guy, okay, he needs off today. Okay, shortstop needs off. Okay, well, we'll put him in because he deserves to be up hitting 300 in the spring. Again, I know it's spring training. People are going, you're making a big deal out of nothing. It's spring training. Yeah, but there's a lot of people that aren't hitting 300 in spring. And if he gets the opportunity, you never know where it might be. You never know where he might end up. So, absolutely.
Yes, and I think we've said this too. Lawler would have been up last season if it wasn't for a shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same shoulder injury that a guy on the Diamondbacks had in Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
And look what it did to Corbin Carroll in the second half of last year. He wasn't the same guy he was in the first half because of that shoulder injury. It really knocked down his power. He wasn't stealing a lot of bases. But now we're going to get to a segment that both of us are going to warn you might get a little heated. Are you there?
I'm here.
This segment, ladies and gentlemen, forewarning, this segment might get a little heated. We are going to try to keep it PG, but it's about the Rays and it's about their owner, Stu Sternberg, and why he needs to, and Matt Silverman for that matter. Because before we went on today, I was watching a bunch of videos, and Matt Silverman, you don't get it easy either. You and Stu are going to hear it from both of us. I will let you give your 2 cents first before I give mine.
Well, just a few minutes ago, guys, I mentioned that the Rays want to pay $600 million to renovate Tropicana Field and stay till 2035, which means they want to extend the lease. I think the lease ends in 2028, so for another 7 years, something like that. No offense, Rays fans, but you're not drawing any. So why would you think that you would draw because you're going to renovate Tropicana Field? You don't draw now. And no offense, but guess what? You haven't even sold out Steinbrenner Field. Opening day is a week from tomorrow, or a week from Friday, excuse me. And there's still tickets available. Now, I understand. I went on today. I was watching a YouTube video. They're expensive. I don't blame people for not wanting to spend $300 for a ticket. I wouldn't either. Not to sit outside in the heat. But anyway, to get back to Sternberg, he used the excuse of the Hurricanes. I'm telling you that right now. He didn't think the city and the county would come up with the funding and the bonds to support that stadium.
Well, also tell them what I had sent you earlier about Stu.
Yeah, so my great co-host here, sends me this very, very odd thing, and I'm going to read this verbatim, word for word. This is what a crybaby sounds like. I'm talking to you, John Cena, but that's a different story. Uh, all I ever asked for was $2 billion in free money to erect a towering monument of my own wealth in a city I invested in modestly into. First of all, Stu, you did, but you live in New York. You don't live in the area. So don't sit here and think we're going to be happy because you live in New York, but you're supporting Tampa. Anyway, and a betting tank full of manta rays with freaking laser beams on their heads. Don't quote Austin Powers. Thank you. But apparently I'm an unreasonable one. Please grow up. Anyway, thanks for everything, St. Pete. No, Stu, how about we say you get the hell out and we say nah, goodbye as you're going out the door. Because Rob Manfred needs to put his foot down, and the rest of ownership, the other owners within MLB, need to put their foot down. And Matt Silverman's just towing the line, man. He's listening to his boss. He can't say anything. So he's not going to say anything differently because he's not allowed to do that. It's his boss. But Stu needs to wake up. You're not selling tickets. You're not selling out games. You're going to renovate the Trop. The Trop was built originally for the Lightning to play here at the Thunderdome after they left the fairgrounds before they moved to that nice stadium in Tampa at Amalie Arena. But, yeah. So, Stu, that's just as much as the dumb idea of you wanting to move the team to Montreal for half the season. That's a grandish thing, too. So, again, Stu, it's time for you to sell the team, let some local people invest in it or whatever, and keep the team here. Or, you know what? If they want to play in Tampa, okay, get the funding, go pay for the stadium, go find a spot in Tampa and let them play there. It's not going to matter which way half one does the other. The team, I just don't. And I'm not even a Rays fan, guys. You're talking to a non-Rays guy here. I'm not even a Rays fan. And I'm telling you that they need to get new ownership and get Stu out. And again, I'm keeping it PG. I wanted to wrote an article the other day. I wanted to swear in it, but it's not professional. It's not professional to get on here and go on a swear rant. So I'll leave it at that, and that's where I'll cut it off, and I'll let my co-host give his 2 cents.
Whew. How can I top that? First of all, Stu, you are the most idiotic, stupid owner in MLB. For one, coming out today and putting out that statement, that just shows me you don't care about the Rays at all. You would, if you did, you would have went through with this stadium deal and kept it on the table. But you want to use the excuse that, oh, I can't afford it now because we have to renovate the Trop. We have to this, we have to do that. And we don't have the funds to do the stadium. Why didn't you think about that before you lied to everybody and said, oh, we're going to keep the team. The Rays are here to stay. They're never leaving. Well, one of the videos I was watching today, the mayor of St. Pete, Ken Welch, came out and said that no more. He is not going to talk to this ownership group of the Rays about building a new stadium. Still sell the darn team. We need to, and Matt Silverman, you need to go out too. You need to leave. I'm a Lightning fan, and the Lightning were bad before Jeff Vinnick bought the team, and now the Lightning are one of the best teams in the NHL. Why can't the Rays have?
They're one of the best teams in sports as far as fan friendly. They were rated like number 1 or number 2 in all sports. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I'm not done with my little tangent yet, but Stu, put the team up for sale. Let somebody buy it. There is people that want to buy the team. Eddie DeBartolo's son wants to buy the Rays. Put it up for sale. See who bids the highest amount of money, because we all know that the almighty dollar always wins. And I don't only feel bad for Rays fans. The other fan base I feel bad for is the A's because they were in the same situation, but then they're going to be in Vegas in a couple years. Oh, wait. I know why Rays have that. Because we have terrible ownership. And still, I'm going to go on a tangent right now and name off 4 things that you could do to betterment the organization. 1, spend money in free agency. Don't tell us these foolish lies that I'm willing to spend money on a guy like Pete Alonso, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Aaron Judge. Don't give us those foolish lies. We don't believe it. We'll believe it when you actually put the money out and say, oh, I actually am going to go out and try to make moves in free agency. Okay. I give you a pass this in the offseason issue. You did go out and sign Danny Jansen. That's the first big money signing you've made in a long time, other than Zach Eflin, who you flipped for pennies on the dollar to the Orioles, which again, that's another conversation that you shouldn't be. If you're going to trade guys, Stu and Silverman, and I get, okay, we can't dog Eric Neander because he does do his job to the best of his abilities that he's given. So Eric Neander, you're off the hook. But Silverman and the whole ownership group of the Rays, you are not. Sell the team, get some new owners in there, because we do not want to see the Rays fall into the same fate that the Oakland, now the A's are. Look at Oakland. They're devastated that they lost the A's. Even though they stayed in California they're still in California the next 3 years in Sacramento. But now the A's fans Oakland has no professional sports teams.
I've lost them all.
Because they're the Alameda County, which is Oakland, they didn't want to build a new stadium for any of their sports teams. That's why they all left. And I hope the same thing doesn't happen to the Rays. And the other thing I've been hearing, and I don't know how this would work, is they're talking about the Rays might be able to play in Raymond James Stadium. How would that even work?
Well, it's not going to work because if you're going to do that, you're going to have to get rid of many, many sections of seats in certain parts of the field to make it more dimensional for baseball. I know, yes, they mentioned, and I made a post on my Facebook page that the Banter, yes, they did. They sold out 65,000 people. But again, that's baseball, guys. I watched the replay of that game. That's not baseball. That's like watching the Go-Karters play basketball. Not basketball, guys. They cannot play Raymond James Stadium. They cannot. They just can't. They would lose. They're going to lose thousands of seats in the first couple of months. And I don't even know, really, if, no offense, but if Bucks ownership would even allow that.
No, I don't think Buccaneers ownership would allow that.
Yeah, the Glazers are not going to just say, oh, yeah, go ahead and axe 1,000 seats off of our section, because when the football season rolls around in August, because the Bucks don't play there, guys, USF football also plays there. So you may have games on Saturdays and Sundays that will conflict with the Rays. How the heck are you going to have a football game, tear the field apart, and then put it back together for baseball, or vice versa? Not going to work. Not going to work. It won't work.
Well, USF's only there for another 2 years, right?
Correct. The new stadium opens up, I think, in 2027 or 2028. I think it's 2027. It opens up. So we only got 2 more years at Raymond James.
Any way to finish this segment off, Stu? Sell the team, please, if you're watching this. Or Rays fans and baseball fans, send this to Rob Manfred. Because what I've heard is there is owners and Rob Manfred pushing for Stu Sternberg to sell the Rays.
Well, and another reason too, is we live in the 12th largest media market. Now I know it's not 1 and 2, but this is a rising media market in Tampa Bay. I lived here all my life. This is a rising, media market, and you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose a baseball team, because once they're gone, guys, they ain't coming back. There's not going to be another chance in what. There's going to be another team to come back here, and it can work because football works here, hockey works here. Baseball is still here at the moment. We'll see if something happens, hopefully, in the next year or two. Maybe before the end of this year, we can have a sell, and then they can go ahead and start getting the stadium built for them for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Anyway, we get to the next segment, and it is, should the Red Sox and Yankees have traded for a starting pitcher? And of course, we're going to start with the Red Sox first, since my co-host is a Red Sox fan. Should the Red Sox, now that they're down Lucas Giolito and Brian Bayo, should they have gone out and made a trade for a starting pitcher? They were in talks at one point with the Padres about Dylan Cease. And of course, Sonny Gray's out there, Eric Fetty, Mike Clevenger. The list goes on. They could have gone out and made another move for a starting pitcher. Should the Red Sox have done that?
Well, I mean, again, at the end of the day, guys, we all know that no matter who you cheer for or what team you cheer for, you can never have enough pitching. Pitching, again, at the end of the day, guys, wins championships. Hands down, you look at any World Series, the pitchers were the shining stars. And should they go out and make a trade? Probably with 2 starting pitchers down.
Cutter Crawford's also out too, so that's
great.
And he probably would have slid into the rotation, so he's out. So that's 3 starting pitchers out.
I have Bello, Crawford, Sandoval, Penrod, and Murphy are all out. All of them are out. So
and the thing is, Sandoval's not going to be back till mid-season.
Yeah, that's what it says. But yeah, he says he's not. He's on the 60-day DL. Well, DL. It's the IL now. They used to call it the DL. Yeah. So he's going to be out for a while. Cutter Crawford's going to be out. Maybe they said till May. So that's the whole first 2 months of the season, month and a half of the season.
Yeah.
So back early April. So you may get him back in a couple weeks. Murphy's out for the season. He had a Tommy John surgery, so he's out for the rest of the year. Yeah,
I don't think if Murphy wasn't hurt, I think he makes the roster, not as a starter, but as like a guy a high leverage arm out of the bullpen.
Okay.
And then Penrod, I think he was a Rule 5 guy for the Red Sox, and they did the same thing the Rays did with Nate Lavender. The Rays got Nate Lavender in the Rule 5 draft and then automatically put him on the injured list. And I think that's what the Red Sox probably did with Penrod. Unless he was unless he was originally a farmhand of the Red Sox. Because I did just see where today the Rays got Evan Reifert back, returned to them from the Nationals, who was taken in a Rule 5 draft.
Okay.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen, guys in the Rule 5 draft, they have to stay on the MLB, the 40-man, the MLB roster the entire season for whatever team takes them in the Rule 5 draft. If they don't and they get sent back to the minors, they go back to their original team. But so the Red Sox, you saying yes, they should have gone out and made a trade?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have questions at that position unless they're going to do the whole, start your bullpen for 2 days.
Well, see, and they're so the two guys they're saying that are going to fill in are Richard Fitz, who I guess is one of the Red Sox top pitching prospects,
Okay.
and I forgot who the other guy. Look up their rotation going into opening day. I know Fitz is in there.
I actually have from MLB.com every opening day roster, who they predict will be on the opening day roster for everybody. Here's who they have as the starting.
Quinn Priester. Quinn Priester is the other guy.
Yeah, they got
it. Just came to my.
Yeah, it's Crochet, Hawk, Bueller, Fitz, and Priester are the starting 5. That's who they have for the Red Sox. Yeah.
You can see the look on my face. Sorry, Red Sox fans. I don't, and my co-host might agree with me. I don't know if I could trust Quinn Priester going 5 innings every 5 days.
Well, that's the risk. That's the risk you got to take.
Yeah. Obviously, the Pirates didn't trust him enough to keep him. That's why they traded him to Boston. Then again, the Pirates have Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we get to the Yankees, who also have some starting pitcher issues as well. And the big one is Garrett Cole. He is out the entire year and probably a part of next year with Tommy John, which that contract the Yankees gave him is looking all the more ugly.
Couldn't have happened to a better franchise. Better franchise. I keep that, but I hate the Yankees with every ounce of my being.
So do I.
If anyone needed to go trade for a pitcher, but out of the Red Sox and the Yankees, it would be New York because they lost somebody else, didn't they?
Garrett Cole's hurt. Luis Gil's out for the first 3 weeks of the season. And then all of a sudden the other day, magically, Clark Schmidt gets scratched from his start. So that's another starting pitcher down.
Oh, yep.
So unless he's going to be back for spring training, which for opening day, which I haven't heard anything yet. But if he's out, they're down 3 starting pitchers.
Yeah, let me see.
And right now, they're 4 and 5 guys in the rotation are Marcus Stroman and one of their top pitching prospects, Will Warren, which, again, I don't know if I trust it because he, I think, was up a little bit last year and got shelled.
Well, so here's their starting rotation. It's from MLB.com. They have Rondon, Fried, Stroman, Warren, Schmidt. That's the starting 5 for the Yankees. So there you go.
So that means Schmidt is going to be back.
Yeah, they have him penciled in, but as the 5th starter. They have Rodon as number 1, Max Fried number 2, Stroman, which Stroman's been
a big crybaby.
I was just about to say that he doesn't really fit the Yankee mold. The Yankee organization. I mean, I know I'm not a Yankees fan, so correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't usually have a lot of people who complain and cry about this and that. Usually they get rid of you because they don't put up. They get rid of you.
No, you are completely correct.
Yeah,
if you whine and complain, they snap your fingers. Where you want to go, we'll trade you.
Yep, we'll just get something in return. Yeah.
Hey, Yankees, I just want to say this. Thank you for being work vet. Because he was yours and you traded him to us for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't. Yeah, you're right. The Yankees should have gone out and traded for starting pitching. Who knows? They might still. I have a suspicion that Marcus Stroman won't be sticking around there for long. He will get traded. And I think we've talked about the Marlins a lot for bad reasons, but this is a good reason we're talking about the Marlins for. The Marlins need to take on some money, or else they will be getting a lovely grievance call from the commissioner's office for not meeting their allotment of money they're supposed to be spending. And now we get to the mystery segment, which is making its debut. And it is today's mystery segment is we are going to talk about the automatic ball strike system that has debuted in spring training. And I will let my esteemed co-host Bradley go first. What is your thoughts and opinions on the ABS system?
Just like the thing with it is, I first of all, to answer your question, I do like it. It's going to be just like the pitch clock. It's going to be griped at when it first came out. Guys, they even use the strike clock in college baseball. I cover the Bulls. They use they even pitch clock in softball too. So just to let you know. But anyway, I like it. I think there's going to be pitchers that are not going to like it because the computer may not call those outside corner pitches, those just off the edge of the plate type pitches for strikes. You're going to have the older guys like the Max Scherzers, the Justin Verlander type pitchers, the old guys that have been getting those calls for a lot of years that have helped their careers up till this point go further. You're going to have that happen, but it's done so well, and they use it in minor league. They use the ABS. Guys, they're still going to be umpires. Don't freaking freak out. Umpires will still be there at first and at third and at home because there's somebody's got to be there to call, safe and out. So the ABS will be interesting because you're going to get rid of. You're not going to have any more Angel Hernandez's out there. I know he's not in the
Or
MLB.
Jim Joyce.
Joyce, who screwed the Tigers.
Armando Galarraga.
A perfect game. But yeah, I like the idea. I hope I think Manfred said something about they won't bring it into the major leagues until
next year.
Yeah, they're 2026.
2026.
Okay. So yeah. So
I you know what? I like it too. At first, the first spring training game I watched and I saw it, I'm like, really, we're doing this again? And then as spring's gone on, I've come accustomed to guys challenging the ball strike, and you get some interesting I'm not gonna say arguments, but you get some interesting dialogue from the guys when they're challenging it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's entertaining. I like it. It's just like when the pitch clock first came out, I didn't really care for the pitch clock, but as you can see, I actually like the pitch clock now, and I like how they're trying to speed up the game. The mound visits thing, I think that should be they should give you 7 mound visits per game, and I think that should be the limit. 5 is too few.
And they're very strict about that, by the way. Covering the Rays last year, they count them. And if you go over 5, and I think the Rays went over 5 one time and something happened, but they ended up getting in trouble for that. But the pitch clock is interesting too, because in the press box, they have hey. They have a person that runs the clock. So the umpire will make a symbol. He starts the clock, then he'll turn it off, and then he'll turn it back on when the batter steps back in the box. But yes, it's interesting how it all works out. But yeah.
And same thing with the whole 1 time out per at bat. I like it, but at the same time, I feel like, okay, so the batter gets one timeout, but the pitcher can step off the mound up to 3 times before it's a balk.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't the batter get 3 timeouts to
That's
make
the
it fair?
that's to stop the Nomar Garcia Parras and Derek Jeters of the age where you take your gloves off every at bat, every pitch. So that's the only reason why they do the whole one timeout thing during the at bat. So those guys ruined it for all the guys that are in right now. But yeah, and I love
Yeah,
both those guys. I'm not a
so
Yankee
do
fan
I.
players. So yeah,
Then you've got the whole, and I think there needs to be, and let me know what you think. And this is part of the mystery segment, but what's your stance on the whole making the second base, making the bases wider? Where do you stand on that?
well they didn't they do that last year, or did they just do first base? I thought that
It was
they had
no, it was first. I think it was all 3 bases: first base, second base, and third.
they watching the stadium guys, the grounds crews at each of the stadiums. They said it was like putting a pizza box. That's how big they were. Putting a large pizza box out on the base pass. The players, I guess it would help them. Obviously, if you're going to steal bases, guys like Ellie De La Cruz and guys like that, if there's a wider base, they can slide at a wider angle. It keeps you from running into, say, the shortstop or the second baseman going from first to second or from second to third. You're not running directly into the guys that are it's their job to guard those bases. So that might be the only benefit of it. I know they're trying to retain the current fans and bring in new fans. So they're trying to do these things, the ABS, the pitch clock, speed. Because come on, guys, did you guys really want to continue to go to 5-hour baseball games? I didn't. I'm glad
No,
that the
that's
average.
what it felt like for a Yankees Red Sox game.
I mean, the average game now I think is like 3 hours or 2.5. It's so nice to go to a Rays game and the game's first pitch is at 6:45, and by 8:45, 9 o'clock, you're walking out of the stadium. So I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
You're not staying up. You're not up to 11 o'clock. But the base thing, my opinion is, it'll benefit obviously your base runners, and it'll help your infielders a little bit. But again, just like with everything else, but I mean, with the pitch clock, ABS, there are going to be people that are going to be against it. The traditional baseball fans don't like the DH rule, and now in both leagues, because of back in the day, the National League didn't have a DH. So when you went to a National League ballpark, your pitcher had to hit. Well, they got rid of that because they wanted a DH with everybody. So now everybody's got a DH. So it's just going to depend on how everyone accepts it. But my opinion, I think it'll make it better for the game because it'll open up a chance for you to steal bases, which is the old-fashioned way of scoring runs. Of scoring runs is manufacturing runs on the base pass.
I agree with that. Now, on the negative side, I think one thing that needs to go is the ghost runner on second base in extra innings.
That's a Ron Manfred rule.
As I like to call it, the Manfred man.
Yeah, you could say that. You can say that.
That needs to be abolished. The whole point of that was during COVID. Which, okay, I can understand you keeping it for COVID and the season after COVID. But when COVID was completely gone, why are you still using the Manfred man? Give us the old way of extra innings where it was you have to earn that run. You just don't get a guy out on second base. But I mean, I kind of get why they stuck with it because they want to speed up these extra inning games.
I was just gonna say that, but it's just to keep the speed, the flow of the game moving on.
Yeah. And then I read the other day where Rob Manfred's talking about he's going to step down once his contract is up with MLB at the end of the I think it's 27, 28 season.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then, yes, ladies and gentlemen, and both of us are not going to like this, expect a lockout for MLB after next season.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately.
And ESPN has decided to buy out MLB in their contract with MLB after this year.
Yeah, that's going to hurt TV rights a little bit because I think at the end of the day, unfortunately, all of sports, and it's going to be this way down the road, it's all going to go to streaming. Local channels are not going to hold, you're not going to have the Foxes, NBCs, ABCs anymore. You're going to have Netflixes and the Primes and all them, and they're going to make you pay to watch sports. That's the way it's going to be because these leagues make billions of dollars off of these streaming services. Amazon with the NFL, and stuff like that. And then, in college football, we both know you have the Big Ten network, the SEC network.
Peacock.
Peacock. You don't have those local. You have to pay for all those channels. They get kickbacks from all that stuff for the people that subscribe to those channels. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's going to go that route. I don't know what baseball is going to do because you lose ESPN, which means you lose Disney. Because Disney owns ESPN, owns ABC. So you're going to, Fox, they could go to Fox. They could go to CBS, I guess, to run games. I mean, that's
NBC.
NBC could be another one that would be interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a baseball game on NBC. So that would be interesting for NBC to step up.
Or maybe ABC.
ABC's owned by Disney, and if they're leaving ESPN, they won't be on ABC. Disney's not going to let that happen. Unfortunately, the mouse won't let that happen.
Yeah, CBS, NBC,
Fox would be the three that they would have
Fox.
To Yep.
Well, and then, so we're going to wrap it up here with talking about something I'm going to talk about in another video, but we're also going to talk about it on the show right now. The Blue Jays, the whole situation with Bichette and Guerrero Jr. Are they going to re-sign one or both or neither of Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette? I'll let you go first.
Well, for Jays fans, you better hope to heck they do sign both of them. My opinion, they'll sign one. It'll be Bichette. I think the whole thing with Guerrero is he wants more money. He wants
to get paid around the same amount of money that Juan Soto is getting paid. Oh, and we also do have one more segment after this that we skipped over after the mystery segment.
No, I think they're more likely to sign Bichette and let Guerrero go, and I could be totally wrong, and I could be the complete opposite. They sign, but so far, I think I read something the other day that they're like $100 million apart with Guerrero. Like he wants more money. They're offering him this. He wants $100 million more. I don't know how that's going to work in Toronto. It's a different country. I don't know how their tax system works in Canada. So I don't know. I mean, I don't. And if he doesn't sign there, you know where he's going to sign with LA, with the Dodgers, with the Yankees. Somebody will.
Down the road. Don't see. I'll tell you why I don't see the Dodgers. Where's he going to play? Freddie's at first base. I mean, maybe you could put him at third because Muncy, he does have a mutual option that the Dodgers could pick up, but then he could become a utility infielder.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe the Yankees, if they let Goldschmidt go after the year. Most likely the Red Sox. Because the Red Sox have been linked to Vlad Jr.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
I could see them signing I could see the Blue Jays resetting Vladdy, but it's absurd that he wants the same amount, more money than what Juan Soto got.
You won't get that.
No, he won't.
Juan Soto plays a good outfield as well. Vladdy Guerrero is not the greatest first baseman, and no offense to him, but you're not a all-star
Gold Glove
caliber.
first baseman.
No, not even close. So no.
Yeah, it's. And then I said we were gonna wrap up a second ago. We've got one more segment, and it's delivered to you by my resident Red Sox fan, and it is a question I have for you. Why should Christian Campbell or Marcelo Meyer make the opening day roster for the Red Sox? I will let you go first since you're the resident Red Sox fan. Then I will chime in after.
Well, first of all, at the end of the day, teams have to get younger, and you can't keep your talent in the minors for a long period of time. Doesn't work out very well. Both of these kids, and I think there's even a third person, I think, in that
Roman Anthony.
That's him as well. I read an article the other day about the three of them. Alex Cora, who I got to meet at the Rays game very well. But all three of them should be up. I know that's easier said than done because you're limited to how many players you can have on.
Well, I've heard that Meyer isn't going to make the team. They're going to send him down to AAA because they want him to play. They want him to get regular bats, and same with Roman Anthony.
Well, then that means if they're going to send him to Pawtucket to be in the AAA affiliate, then they'll be up sometime during the year.
But the one they did not mention is the one you can talk about right now, Christian Campbell. Because I just read an article before we got on that it sounds like Christian Campbell will, and I say this with a huge asterisk, will make the opening day roster and be the starting second baseman. Even though David Hamilton has had a really good spring.
Instead of Trevor Story, or Story's a shortstop. Yeah. Well, yeah, because actually, but in the rosters off of MLB.com, they have predicted that Christian Campbell will be the starting second baseman. That's the prediction. So, yeah.
Yes.
You definitely see
and
that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So since we have time right now, why don't we go over some of those opening day rosters? Start with the Rays.
The Rays, okay, so here's who they have. I'll give you the starting 9 and their rotation.
Before you get into it, I saw where the Rays made some roster cuts, and they made a couple of questionable roster cuts today. And Chandler Simpson and Jake Mangum, which everybody thought Jake Mangum was going to be on the opening day roster because he's on the 40-man. And so I'm assuming that's going to mean that your left field is going to be a platoon between Christopher Morel and Richie Palacios. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead and get into the projected 26-man roster for the Rays.
Well, this is the starting 9 and their starting 5 rotation guys. So I'll give you the starting first baseman is Yanni Diaz, who will lead off. They have Brandon Lau batting second, playing second base. They have Junior Caminero at third, batting third. Josh Lowe, who I know they've talked about being the leadoff hitter as well, so I could see a switch with a lefty-righty if whoever is your starting opposite pitcher will depend on who that. They have Christopher Morel at left field, Jonathan Aranda at DH, Danny Jansen, your starting catcher, Johnny DeLuca playing center field, and then the starting shortstop is Taylor Walls, which I agree with that. Walls is a hell of a player. And then
but that's only till Hassan Kim.
Correct, and that says that down here. That Kim, correct. The starting 5 are McClanahan, Rasmussen, Pepio, Boz, and my favorite Rays pitcher, Taj Bradley. So that's what they have as the
Oh,
starting.
so they think that Littell's going to be coming out of the pen.
Yes, it says this is tough to predict, but the Rays are with 6 starters, these 5 plus Zach Littell competing for 5 spots. So that's what the notes say. Correct. So they have Littell
Okay,
coming.
so continue with the projected 26-man roster.
That's all I have, but I just have the starting lineups in the rotation. I don't have the other. That's just the starting lineups for each team and the starting 5.
Tell us the Cincinnati Reds starting lineup.
The Cincinnati Reds. Let me flip it over to the NL here. I have the AL all over the place here. Okay, so the Reds. Here's the next
I am going to make a prediction right now. I'm betting you Ellie De La Cruz is the leadoff hitter.
I would not bet against that. Oh, here we go. Oh, no. They have Matt McLean leading off at second base.
I don't hate that either.
Then they have Ellie De La Cruz batting second. Spencer Steer at batting third. Jameer Candelario, if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly.
Jamer Candelario.
DH. They have TJ Friedel at center field.
Friedel.
Friedel. Is it Gavin Lux? Lux?
Lux.
Is that how you?
Lux.
Third base.
Former Dodgers farmhand and played for the Dodgers for a little bit.
Austin Hayes, Jake Freely, and Jose Chirino will round out the starting 9.
Trevino, former Yankees catcher.
And then they have
Hunter Green, Andrew Abbott.
No, it's Hunter Green, Brady Singer, Nick Martinez, Nick Lobato, and Rhett Lauder as the starting 5 for the Reds.
Okay, so I'm guessing Lodolo's either bullpen or he's on the injured list.
Andrew Abbott is also down there too, but they did say in the notes that Andrew Abbott's name is the most difficult to omit among this group, but should not be counted out. So yes, he is mentioned as well. So
I'm not going to be. We're going to go over a couple more, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's like a swing guy where he starts in the bullpen, but if somebody gets hurt or struggles, they put him into the rotation. Give me the Cleveland Guardians, or as I'm still going to call them, the Indians.
Cleveland Indians. When I was in Fort Myers with my girlfriend last week, and I bumped into a guy who was wearing a Cleveland Indians hat, and I said, "Thank you for still wearing that hat, and thank you for still calling them the Cleveland Indians, because I don't know what they are guarding in the city of Cleveland. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Cleveland, but what are you guarding in Cleveland? Just what are you guarding in Cleveland?" Okay, so here is the Cleveland Guardians or Indians.
This one I know I'm going to be right on. Stephen Kwan is probably the leadoff hitter.
You are correct. And they have Jose Ramirez batting second. Kyle Manzardo is the DH.
Former Rays prospect.
Carlos Santana at first base. Lane Thomas playing center field.
Sorry to cut you off, but you mean old man Carlos Santana?
Man, Carlos Santana. Yes, that's correct.
39 years old.
Lane Thomas in center. Will Brennan in right field. Bo Naylor's their starting catcher. Gabriel Arias is their starting second baseman. And Brian Rochario is their shortstop.
I know Shane Bieber's going to be in a rotation at some point.
Yeah,
but so he's out to start the year.
To start this year, they have Tanner Beebe as their number 1. Luis Ortiz, Gavin Williams, Ben Lively, and Tristan McKenzie are their starting 5. That's who they have.
The real wild card there is Tristan McKenzie. What Tristan McKenzie are you going to get this year? Are you going to get, and I've talked about this in previous videos, but are you going to get the Tristan McKenzie you got before pre-injury, or are you going to get the one you got last year that just he And I'm not trying to be mean when I say this, Guardians pitch. He looked out of it last year. He couldn't command his fastball. He had no control of his off-speed pitches. He was walking guys left and right. And we know the walks start adding up for one. And two, you can end up either getting DFA'd or sent down to the minors and stay in the minors for a while until you can get your command under control.
Right. That is true.
Give me the Brewers starting lineup. I'm interested to see where Christian Yelich is.
Okay. The Brewers. Let's see here.
We're going to do a couple more of these, ladies and gentlemen, and then wrap up the show.
They have Christian Yelich batting third as their DH.
Not surprised that he's not in the outfield.
They have Jackson Chourio leading off right field.
Speed at the top of the line. Speed at the top of the lineup. I like it.
William Contreras, and they have Rhys Hopkins at batting behind Yelich.
Rhys Hoskins.
Joey Ortiz. Mark Canhada is their. Well, they have two DHs down here, so I don't know what that.
Yelich might be who's left field.
They don't have a left fielder.
Yelich might be left fielder then.
Okay. Center field is Sal Frelick.
Yep.
And
Best name in the MLB.
Third base, they either have Caleb Durbin or Vinny Capara, if I'm pronouncing that last name correctly, at third base. And they have Bryce Turog at second base.
Trang.
Yeah. And
Tough
then,
name to say. Peralta's their ace, I'm assuming.
That is correct. And they have Cortez, Savali, Quintana, and Alexander to round out.
There's a reason I'm laughing. Who was the second pitcher you said?
Cortez? Nestor Cortez.
Yep. There's a good reason I'm laughing. Think about it. Who do you used to pitch for before the Brewers?
The Yankees.
Yeah, they could use him right now. Oh, boy. Good old Brian Cashman. After his shenanigans.
Him and Aaron Boone should have been 2 years ago, in my opinion, but that's just me.
Give me the... Give me the Tigers starting lineup.
The Tigers.
I wonder if Torkelson's in there. I know he's not at first base.
Let's see here. Here is the Tigers. Their predicting starting nine is Winsel Perez at center field. They have Gleyber Torres batting second. Riley Green batting third. Kerry Carpenter.
Where's Green playing? Left field?
Left field, correct. They have Colt Keith at first. Andy Ibanez at third. Justin Henry.
Well, because you know why? Because Josh Young's brother got optioned back to the minor leagues because he had a horrendous spring.
Okay. They have Justin Henry Malloy in right field, Javier Baez in shortstop, and Jake Rogers as their starting catcher. Batting ninth.
Oh. Did you say the name I think you said at shortstop?
Javier Baez? I did.
Oh.
He's been
that is one of the worst. That is one of the worst contracts in baseball.
Uh-huh. Yes,
the man can't hit a off-speed pitch to save his life. Look at his, ladies and gentlemen, look at Javier Baez's splits from last year with fastball against fastballs compared to off-speed. He was hitting less than 200 against off-speed pitches. And that would be your changeups, your sliders, your sinkers, your two-seam fastballs, your kick changeup, which is the new new pitch that's being implemented by pitchers this year. Oh, and your sweepers. But yeah, that is. I think that's a worse contract than Bobby Bonilla and Chris Davis, who are getting paid for not even playing.
Correct.
And yes, I'm sorry, Javier Baez, if you're watching this. I just compared you to Bobby Bonilla and Chris Davis.
And their starting five are Skubal, Flaherty, Olson, Job, and Mize are their starting five for the Tigers.
Well, then I'm puzzled then because it said they sent Jackson Job back down to AAA, but I wonder if he's back up because Alex Cobb.
That's what it says right here, but it says Alex Cobb's right inflammation takes him out of play for the start of this season, and maybe why they have Job in the starting five. Yep.
Now, let's go to the Dodgers, but we're going to do a different thing with the Dodgers. Instead of their lineup, because we know what their lineup's going to look like, let's look at their rotation.
Their rotation, okay. Get back
because there's been rumblings out there that their rotation can consist of 6 guys.
Okay, so we already know their starting lineup is
Filthy.
Otani, Hernandez, Muncy, Smith, Conforto, Edmund, Pages. That's their starting 9. So here is their starting 5.
Projected. And Otani is going to pitch this year, but as of recording this, Dave Roberts has said that he's going to slow play Otani pitching.
Right. They have Blake Snell.
Ugh.
They have Yamamoto as their. I think he pitched in Japan. I think he pitched.
Yes, he did.
He pitched. Sasaki.
No, he pitched game 1. Sasaki pitched game 2.
They have him behind Tyler Glass now, and they have Dustin May as their 5th guy.
As their 5th guy?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, and then let's get into, like, Tony Gonsolin's there. You got Tony Gonsolin, Bobby Miller, Gavin Stone, Emmett Sheehan. I just named 4 other guys right there that could be start 3 or 4 in anybody else's rotation. But you look at the Dodgers, and they're just
loaded.
Yeah. And the thing is, with Dustin May, he's a free agent after the season. So Dodgers fans, don't get too happy. Dustin May might take money to go somewhere else.
Might be one and done. Yep.
And I'm going to make a prediction here. He might end up going to the Angels.
Ooh. Yep.
And that would hurt Dodgers fans. That would hurt him in the heart. Because that's their, other than everybody in the NL West, that is their biggest rival. Because it's right across the bridge. The Freeway Series. And to wrap it up, the Angels, will they make the playoffs this year? I think we've talked about it before. There's an outside shot for me that they make it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go with you, but I think, like, percentage-wise, I'd give them like a 45-48% chance of making it. That it just, I know they moved Mike Trout to right field to get him out of center field, but heaven forbid, the man has done everything in his career. The guy can't get to the playoffs.
Trade him.
Well, I would hope if they're out of contention by the time that we get to the trade deadline this year, the Angels need to move him. Now, the only thing is he doesn't want to be moved. He has said time and time again, I don't want to play anywhere else but in an Angel uniform. So if you move him, where are you going to move? Well, I guess it depends on who needs an outfielder at the time of the deadline or needs a bat, because Trout can still hit the ball. So it's going to be interesting.
I'm going to wrap it up here and say the one outfielder in LA that I'm intrigued to see this year is a guy that used to be a top prospect for the Angels. that was struggling, and all of a sudden last year, he kind of found his form. He is now the center fielder there, and it is Joe Adell. I'm intrigued to see how he does this year as the everyday center fielder, because with the new super box that I got, I can watch every spring training game, and I've watched a few Angels spring training games, and they've been talking about how he's become more of a leader in the outfield. Not to say that Trout isn't. Trout is one of the biggest leaders and not on that team, because you can't trust Anthony Rendon. But we'll leave it there, and we will see everybody next Tuesday. And guess what next week is? Opening day. But for Alec Pecado and Bradley Walker, we are signing off. We will see you next Tuesday.
Have a good night, everybody.
For the first on-season episode of the Baseball Banter podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good night, everybody.
Hey, guys.